So, just so we can all be on the same page of like how this game actually functions, I feel like at least one run through the tutorial will kind of help us to all be on the same page of what this game is and how it kind of works on a mechanical level. But this game has a lot of particularly the achievements have a lot of James Bond references, which is nice. And the characterizations are pretty good too.
Mr. Reed, you are finally ready to undertake your final test before field deployment. Do not be nervous. You are more than ready. Is what we would say if you had actually listened to the brief that clearly stated, do not bring your weapon. That was a joke.
And yes, working hardware and software is nice.
Take a moment to review your settings in the options menu. Then proceed towards the examination room when ready.
I do appreciate that this game has a bit of a sense of humor about it. It is very like cartoonish and goofy in its aesthetic and its presentation. But it actually, once we get into the mechanics of it, you can do some interesting stuff, and there's a good variety of ways to play for the most part, and we'll probably get more into that a little later. But it is nice that it's got this very specific characterization and aesthetic that it's going for. Having like a clear vision of where you want your visuals and your presentation to be is huge in making a game like this stick.
The goal of every mission is to acquire the package and extract with it. Preferably alive. The package will always be hidden in a secure vault. To access it, you will need to open the vault doors by disabling vault terminals. This is the insertion phase.
Insertion phase, phase 1.
Then infiltrate the vault. This is the infiltration phase.
Phase 2, infiltration.
Tap the terminal to acquire the package. Then you will need to extract. This is the extraction phase.
Phase 3, extraction.
Tap an extraction terminal to call an extraction vehicle. Once the vehicle arrives, make sure you are in the extraction zone and wait until the extraction gauge is filled. Now, let us proceed with a practical test. Smile. You are now on the screen. The holographic cover is the most important tool an agent has at their disposal. Without it, anyone looking in your direction can easily identify you. Please, stay put while your cover activates.
Alright, so
Think of
now,
the holographic cover as a
now we're
shield
disguised.
protecting you both visually and physically. While active, nobody can see your actions, weapons, or gadgets, only your movement. Additionally, it absorbs some of the damage caused by incoming attacks.
So it's like a bit of armor
Move
too.
around the room while paying attention to the screen to see how your cover reacts. Notice that your cover only follows the direction you are moving towards. It leaves you free to look around without being suspicious. The holographic cover does have some weaknesses. Firing your weapon will instantly blow your cover. Try it for yourself and see what happens.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't covering up their explanation of things. But yeah, so you know how I just walk in the room and I'm, you know, this spy-looking character just dressed in a suit. I've got my gun and everything. It's just like, yeah, people are going to be able to tell pretty immediately that you are one of a handful of playable agents. So basically what the cover does is it gives you like a visual disguise. So to any other player, I just look like what I look like on the screen right there. I'm just, you know, a civilian hanging around. They can't see that I have my gun equipped. So they can't see that I have something equipped. They can't see what I have in my hand. And they also can't see which direction I'm looking in. So if you notice that if I keep facing forward and I move to the sides, the character model will turn to face whichever way I'm moving. but it doesn't care about which way my camera is facing. So basically, if you want to look around while also walking in a certain direction, you can do that without people knowing which direction you're looking in. That's important. And also, if you're just stationed somewhere, like if you're just kind of hanging out by the door or something, you can kind of scope out the area without showing people that you're scoping out the area. So that's a pretty important aspect to be able to recognize, is that your movement while you're in cover is completely separate from basically every other action that you're doing while in cover. You can look around all you want. The only things that cover is going to recognize in terms of your movement is just walking. Anytime you jump, you really want to keep your jumping to a minimum, because the NPCs in the game will almost never jump. I don't think there's any situation that I've seen them jump, either in my games or when watching other people play. So jumping is a very risky move and could easily give you away. NPCs don't usually crouch either. The only time NPCs really crouch is whenever there is a gunfight happening near them and they're kind of like cowering in fear. And if there's gunfire happening nearby, your cover will actually act. They'll do like fear RP, if anyone's familiar with that, where they will actually fear for their life. They'll make actions occur. Then they'll be like, run away, kind of thing. So they'll have a different animation set if there's combat happening nearby. So sprinting is not completely impossible for NPCs to do, but it is very seldom done. NPCs don't usually sprint, but they are capable of doing it occasionally. The only time you're really going to see NPCs sprinting around is mostly when there's actually gunfights happening. It is possible to see an NPC just kind of like sprint a little bit and then just keep walking or stop. So they've done a pretty good job of with the AI in this game, making it so that it is kind of hard to tell who's a player and who's just another NPC that has nothing to do with your mission, basically. Now, like they were saying, cover has its weaknesses. As soon as you fire your gun, your cover is immediately blown.
Need some time to recharge. Standing still makes this process go faster. Moving slows it down. Beware. There are other ways to blow your cover. It can also be broken by taking damage, different gadgets, or agent abilities. The holographic cover is just a tool. It's up to you to use it optimally, and to beware of the dangers. The insertion phase will now start.
Okay, so now our visual feed is gone. So you saw that we have our gun. We also have a melee attack that we can charge up to make it stronger. But that melee attack will also blow your cover, so keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that if someone shoots you, your cover is blown, but that cover also gives you a damage reduction on that initial damage that's dealt to you. So people have generally found that being the first to shoot in a firefight is usually not the best approach. And so far, I've found that to be pretty true, because I always try to make sure that I'm not firing first, just in case I'm wrong.
You will encounter various locked security doors. To open them, you will need intel. Gather intel by hacking the devices around this room.
So this room gives you a nice sense of how the AI kind of moves in this game. So you can see them they just kind of walk around and stop in various places. they've really got a start and stop to them. But then there are also these interactions that you can have where you can perform, I believe they're called social interactions by the game. So basically you can enter one of these animations to try and appear more inconspicuous and just blend in, basically. That's ultimately one of the best things you can do with your cover, is to try and blend in with the others. Especially if you need to scope out a room and try to get a read on what's going on. Or if you're trying to suss out someone who is another player. Now, one thing you can also do is any one of these NPCs that you see in the environment, you can disguise yourself as them. But when you do that, it is pretty obvious because there'll be this effect.
That's a lovely outfit.
There'll be this effect that kind of happens. You can't really see it in first person, but in third person, it's basically like there's like this kind of little burst of like holographic cubes. And it's pretty bright and obvious, so you want to try to avoid doing the cover switching wherever it's going to be visually obvious to people. So usually you don't want to try to do it in a room with a bunch of people like this, because you could easily give yourself away if another player happens to be in the room and can see you changing. That's going to be a dead giveaway to them that you're another player. So this is stuff that you kind of get a feel for more over time. You just kind of watch how they move and just try to emulate that to some extent. So if you notice, their movements are very stilted. You can see an NPC just kind of sprinting around, but they're very start and stop. And if you notice, their pathfinding is not very smooth. They make a lot of quick turns, and they don't do a lot of very smooth arcing movements. So if you're kind of like walking around the table like this, and you're very smooth with how you're doing it, that will make you more obvious to a more experienced player versus someone who maybe walks around the table like this. Just try to keep your movements angular, I guess. Because as far as the pathfinding goes in the game right now, they don't have very much smooth pathfinding movements right now. I don't know if they'll change that at some point. It would be smart of them to do that if they can. But yeah, learning how to move and act like the AI can be very helpful in keeping your cover. So what we need to do here is we need to get into this green room. So basically what you can do is you can either find a green key card somewhere in the world, and that will give you access to any one of the green doors. You could just go into any green door for free. Or I think it's per door. Each green door that you hack requires 3 intel. And the intel you can gather from these different devices. It just takes a little time to hack them, and then you get some intel.
Acquired. You can now open the security door.
And-
Staff level doors lead to a staff room. To blend in, you will need a staff cover. To change your cover, walk up to a staff worker and interact with them.
So intel has a few different uses. One of them being it's largely used for hacking different devices. So intel can be used to hack these doors if you don't have the corresponding key card for them. And I believe they'll also show this later, but there are field upgrades that you can acquire that are in these different safes. And each safe requires a certain amount of intel to crack open, depending on the rarity of the field upgrade within them. But since we're in a civilian cover, we're not allowed in the staff room. So what you'll need to do is find one of these NPCs that's wearing green, that's a staff member. Acquire that disguise.
Hey, a job's a job.
And now you can go into a staff room without being in the wrong cover. And that'll keep you from being scolded. Because if you get scolded by other NPCs, that will start drawing attention to you. So you want to make sure that you are mindful of that. You want to try to be in the appropriate cover for whatever area you're trying to get into. You can kind of do the reverse a little bit. Right in front of here, though. Yeah, it's the tutorial, so they mainly just want people to focus on the mechanics of, here's the kind of NPC you need to look for to open this door. So it's, in a normal game, you'll have NPCs of different types kind of like walking around everywhere. And you'll see more certain NPC types based on what kind of area you're in. So ideally what you would likely want to do is try to find a more secluded corner where there is just an NPC that you need the cover of, kind of on their own as much as you can. Try to get their disguise whenever you're not in sight of other players, if at all possible. You don't really have to worry about other NPCs kind of like spotting you changing. It's mainly other players you need to worry about. So NPCs don't really care too much about you changing between different cover types. So like if I change between civilians in this room, even in the normal game, they probably won't care. But a player is going to notice, and they are probably going to try to gun you down to eliminate the competition. But yeah, so we have our staff disguise. You can see that in the lower left there, what disguise we have right now. So we have our green security. We have our green cover rather. We already hacked this door, so we can just go on in. So now we're in a staff room.
Proper cover when entering a security room. Move along.
And even within different cover types, there are multiple different models. So these are two different staff models. So if you ever think that somebody might be tracking you down based on what disguise you have at the time, don't be afraid to take the opportunity to try to switch up your disguise on the go. Just to try to shake people off your trail, because you'll look different. And people might not be looking for your new disguise because they don't know you've changed yet. But keep in mind that some actions will leave behind these hollow breadcrumbs, is what the game calls them. So you want to be mindful of whenever you see those indicators, especially if you see red ones, because that means a player has taken an action in that area recently, because you saw it kind of disappeared over time.
In this room, you will need to open a guard-level security door. 5 intel are required to do so. Chop chop.
And then one other thing that they mentioned in the little sidebar that I didn't touch on yet.
Impressive security.
Is that different disguises will react certain ways to whether there's gunfights happening around them or not. So most NPCs will fear for their lives if there's any gunfights happening near them. They'll either run away if they're far enough away from the gunfight to not be in the direct line of fire. Or if they're too close to a gunfight, they'll just hunker down and they'll just crouch and perform like a cowering animation. As far as I know, the only NPCs that don't do that and actively run toward gunfire or fights and that sort of thing are guards, because that's their job. What a guard does is they actively try to take down agents that are exposed and are, shooting people. It's their job to neutralize the agents. So this is basically your biggest NPC threat, are the guards that are wearing blue. So these guys will not cower or run away from gunfights. They'll do the opposite. They will actively approach gunfights and try to take down the agents that are not in cover. So keep that in mind too if you ever get exposed from your cover, that you probably want to try and stay away from these guys when you're not disguised yourself. Security guards also patrol through all the different sectors. So guards can enter the green staff rooms, they can enter the blue security rooms. And they do enter other areas as well. So guards can be a little more universally helpful to be disguised as. So keep that in mind. And then with these intel devices, you can usually see, based on what kind of device it is, how much intel you can get from it. So like these, you saw those little tiny computers give like, the things that basically look like flip phones give you 1 intel. These little laptop deals give you 2. This computer gave me 3. And I believe there's an even larger, like a full-size terminal that can give you 4. But the more intel that's on the device, the longer it takes to hack. So keep that in mind. So like we got this little tiny one here. It takes like 1 second to hack it. So whenever you're out looking for intel to hack, keep in mind that the amount of intel that you're hacking for is going to affect the amount of time it takes to actually finish the hack. So you want to be careful about being too obvious about what you're doing. Like if you walk directly up to a computer and just stand there, even if you're disguised, a player could find that to be a pretty suspicious action. Especially if you walk away after the exact amount of time that it would take to hack the device. It's something that more experienced players would probably pick up on more so than people who aren't familiar with the timings of the game yet. But this is one of our field upgrades. This one is common. I don't know if they have like rarity names, but this is basically a level 1, I guess. So for what I have set up, this is an overclock chip. So what that one will do, the overclock chip will let you hack devices a certain percentage faster, depending on what level it is. Nice animations, buddy. He just like whipping his head around, like definitely not suspicious at all.
No one will get past me, except me.
So, nice thing about guards, like I was saying before, is they can go into not only the blue rooms, but also the green rooms. You won't see them too often in the green rooms, but it is possible for them to patrol those areas. So don't be surprised if you see one in there. Just because there's a guard in blue hanging out in the green staff room does not automatically mean that it's another player. Hi, how's it going? Nice party here. And then each disguise that you have, depending on whether it's a civilian, a guard, a staff member, they will have social interaction options that are specific to them. For example, the staff members can go up to, like, say these plants in the corner, and you can pull out like a little spray bottle, and you just start spraying, you start spritzing the plant. So one of the guard social interactions is basically what this guy's doing right now, is basically just posting up in a specific spot. And just nice little unique things that make each class of cover act a little differently from the others. Guards will aggro agents that are out of cover and run toward combat. So yeah, guards you could definitely expect to be, on the move, patrolling multiple areas. So guards can be a really handy cover to have it at your disposal. Also worth noting, the more intel it takes to hack something, the longer it's going to take to finish the hack as well. So like getting more intel takes more time, using more intel also takes more time because it's a more advanced lock. So now we're in a guard room.
When you are ready to continue, take the gadget on the desk.
And I'll explain the field upgrades a bit more later because there's something in the main menu that ties to the field upgrades and makes it a little easier to understand. But for right now, just keep in mind that those little vaults that are around, those will have your field upgrades in them, and they require a certain amount of intel to unlock depending on what rarity of field upgrade it is. But let's learn about
This is a bouncing mat.
the bouncy mat.
Inflate it to bounce others away. Block doorways. Use the primary action button to deploy the bouncing mat. Use the secondary action button to inflate or deflate it.
So you can just set it down, and then boing.
If you leave a gadget behind, you can recycle it. Hold the reload button while the gadget is selected. After a short cooldown, it will be usable again.
So if we don't want to go back and pick up our gadget by hand, or in this case if we can't, we can recycle it. And then if you look over on the lower right, you see that little red bar that's kind of rising up next to the icon. You can also see it on the little makeup mirror that I have here. That's the cooldown before it's active to deploy again. So it'll be usable again after a little bit. And keep in mind that there are multiple ways to use certain gadgets. So the bouncing pad, obviously the most apparent usage would be to use it to elevate yourself or to cushion a landing, basically just using it as a trampoline of sorts. But you can also use it to block sightlines. If you really need to get some space between you and another player, and you have a doorway that you're going through, you can just toss that behind you to try and get some distance, block their sightline, force them to have to break through this before they can keep chasing you. So keep in mind the multiple uses of gadgets whenever you're kind of messing around with them, because they can really come in handy. Here's a different guard disguise.
Security doors can also be opened by using a matching key card. There is one hidden in this room. Find it. To help you in your search, you can activate your expertise. Press the expertise button to activate it.
So one thing that is kind of fun about this game too, is that there is sort of like a hero shooter element to it, where each agent has their own specific abilities unique to them. Well, abilities and weapons even that are unique to them and their general playstyle. So Squire's default active ability, or ultimate if you want to call it that, they call it an expertise, is basically this. You ping it, and any collectibles in a certain area around you get a nice little icon to show up for a certain amount of time to show you where items are in your vicinity. So like in here, I could see the intel icon, which means that there is some intel to grab in this drawer. And we also saw, and you can also hear it too, a key card. So you can kind of hear these if you're close to them. So you're not completely in the dark if you're near them, but you're gonna have an easier time finding it, especially if you have, 20 different drawers and desks to look through. If you use something like Squire's expertise to just find the icon for it. And then for reference, there are also these food bowls. They'll be emitting these little particles, and you can eat the food to heal back some of your health if you take any damage. But do be aware that other players can see the food disappear from the bowl if you use it. So if you're not careful, eating food from the bowl, causing it to disappear, that could also give you away. So be mindful of that. That is something that other people can see happen.
Keycards will unlock any matching security doors at no intel cost.
And same thing about like hacking devices or safes or things like that. Because you can see that there are some safes that have already been opened. So since only one player can open each of those safes and collect items and things like that, you can tell pretty easily whether someone has already been in a room or not, because things will be missing. There'll be empty ammo boxes laying around, or there'll be drawers that used to have key cards but now just have the little key fob left over. If anyone was paying attention, there was a green keycard fob just like that in that first room where we first turned into a staff member. So someone else might be in here with us. But we have our purple keycard. It's a technician keycard. So now we can go into a technician zone.
Shut down the vault terminal to open the vault door.
Now guards aren't technically supposed to be in technician rooms. So if you're going to go into a technician room, be careful, because in terms of just the standard gameplay loop, there are going to be times where if you're going for these vault terminals yourself, you are going to have to go into a technician room without technician cover available to you, because technicians are only in one specific sort of zone on the map. And you don't really go there until you're at the stage where you're ready to go grab the package and get out. So if you see somebody in one of these technician rooms, it's almost definitely a player, to the best of my knowledge. So keep that in mind. You are going to be kind of exposed if you're going into one of these rooms to get the vault terminal. But you definitely want to try to get these if you can, because you need to hack 3 of these to actually open up the vault. But if you are the one who opens the vault terminal, you actually get a chance at your most valuable field upgrade. in the gold slot. Also worth noting, you can look around while you're hacking things. Just don't move too far away from it.
3 vault terminals will need to be shut down. Before you proceed, grab this terminal's field upgrade. Field upgrades provide you with different improvements to your arsenal, making them very valuable. Use the navigation mode to easily locate the objective terminal.
So once, in a normal match, once 3 of these have been deactivated by anybody across the whole match, then the vault will open. And you can tell where the vault is by these crown symbols. These crown symbols are indications of where the vault is. So,
While in the
navigation mode
use
can
the
help
primary
you to get
action
there.
button to select a highlighted object.
So basically, we can ping
The
that
navigation
doorway.
mode will then show you the fastest path leading to it. Use it to locate vault, objective, and extraction terminals, in addition to health stations and ammo dispensers.
And this, once you have a location pinged, you'll see this little marker on the ground leading you on the shortest path.
Heads up, Mr. Reed. You are not alone. 2 agents are currently in the area. Pay attention.
2 agents are currently in the area, so we are not alone. One thing that's also interesting to note is that there are certain things that are only available in particular rooms throughout the game. For example, this ammo dispenser, you'll only find these in guard rooms. So you can trade 3 intel to get yourself some extra ammo if you need it. But keep in mind, by default, that you can only carry up to 10 intel at a time, unless you get field upgrades specifically increasing your maximum capacity. So choose your intel spending wisely. Cost 5 to open this. So you see that breadcrumb there? That red one? That means that somebody else changed cover here recently. So keep that in mind as we proceed through this next room. We are not alone. And somebody changed outfits recently. So the fact that this person is kind of following us around very, very closely, that's a bit suspicious. If you've got someone tailing you, keep your head on a swivel for people like this. If anyone's directly tailing you for an extended period of time, then they're being pretty suspicious. So I think we can pretty safely say that this is one of the 2 other agents in the area, considering how they're tailing me pretty ferociously. Definitely not good on their part. But while I'm here, since I generally know how they are going to act, we can at least discuss that this, you can see there's a crown in their name. There's a crown right before their name. This is a VIP. There's only one VIP on a map. VIPs can go wherever they want to, but keep in mind that since there's only one of them on the entire map, they're a completely unique NPC, they don't really make for very good cover because people are most likely going to automatically suspect that the VIP is a player just because of the sheer unlikelihood of actually coming across them. It's not an automatic, oh, that's a VIP, so it must be a player. But just keep that in mind. They're not going to blend in. They do very much the opposite of blending in. So only really, you have to be really careful with how you use the VIP cover. Because the VIP can go anywhere they want to, and they can also go into the vault terminal and take the package. They can retrieve the package without setting off any alarms or anything. But it's definitely very risk reward. So keep that in mind. But while we're here, there are health stations in each of the bathrooms. Each bathroom has a health station. You can use 3 intel and you just get full health. It does have a small cooldown in between uses, so keep that in mind especially if you're playing this in team play, that there is going to be a small cooldown in between uses of the health station. So keep that in mind. Because that's another thing that's kind of fun about this game is you can play this game solo, and that's what I usually do. I think it's 10 people in a match. So just 10 individual solo agents all trying to get the package. But you can also play, currently they have trios. So you can play 3 people per team, and then it's 4 teams of 3 all against each other to try to get the package. So there's 2 different ways to play right now, and boy, you are really something. You're just tailing me really hard. I think I'm just gonna take these. Woo. I guess the spy decided to reveal themselves. Unfortunately, since I'm out of cover... Okay, good. Since I was out of cover, these guys also started shooting at us.
So sorry, but I might need this.
So because we were hacking some stuff, I think they suspected us enough to open fire. So keep that in mind, that other players are inherently unpredictable to a certain extent. You don't know exactly when they're going to start firing all the time. There are some times where they'll make it way more obvious than other times. But this time didn't seem like there was really quite a specific moment that it really kind of clicked until we started picking up intel. But yeah, so whenever you defeat an enemy agent, they'll drop a spy cache, which restores some of your health and ammunition. So that can be really handy to grab that if you're not having to immediately book it to get back into cover. And they also drop anything that they were carrying in terms of their field upgrades and key cards. So they drop all of those too. So if you don't manage to get all of your field upgrades, or if you need some key cards or something like that, if you defeat another agent on the field, they might have what you're looking for. I wouldn't necessarily say to go out of your way to go try to hunt down the other agents unless you're specifically built for that playstyle. But do keep in mind that it is another resource at your fingertips. It just comes with its own risk, of course.
I feel so good.
So we can grab
Unlocking my
these.
full potential.
So our green field upgrade that we just picked up is increased intel capacity. So now we can hold up to 14 because it's a 40% increase at the green level. And then that blue one we picked up is called Social Battery. And that one is one of my favorites. Because what it does is any of those social interactions where you're basically performing like a blend-in action, like hanging out at the bar, or you could even like wash your hands in the bathroom, or doing any of those sorts of actions, that will heal you over time when you have the Social Battery field upgrade. And I think that's a really great twofer, because not only do you blend in when you're performing an action, you're performing the action, you're kind of staying on the down low, but you're also healing at the same time. That way you're not exposing yourself as much as, say, trying to find a health station or eating food out of a bowl where somebody could see you take the food, and then you're back into an exposed position. So since they were posing as a VIP, I assume that's why they had the VIP keycard. But this
Make your way to the objective terminal.
This gives us free access to the terminal room. So it is very handy. Now here's the technician disguise, and you're only going to see the technicians once you start to get close to the actual vault itself. So you're not going to see the technicians anywhere close to where the vault terminals are, that you need to unlock 3 of them to actually open the vault. You'll only see them in areas kind of close to the vault proper. So
I always scored high in science.
So you're probably not going to see technicians just walking around in the open in the standard civilian areas. So if you see technicians walking around out in the open, far away from where other technicians usually are, you have pretty good reason to be suspicious. Technicians are only located in the vault and get scared when agents are fighting around them. So again, keep that in mind. Technicians are only located in the vault. That kind of information is very important to remember, because it's not just about acting like an NPC. It's also knowing where certain NPCs are supposed to be. So keep that in mind whenever you're switching locations, especially. But yeah, since we have Social Battery, we can just sit on here and we get health back. At the blue level, we get 3 health per second, which is pretty decent. It's a good way to kind of like top yourself off after a battle. If you really got into a scrap and need to disengage for a while. Now, one thing I should mention about the disengaging is when your cover is broken, it does take a certain amount of time for your cover to replenish and come back so that you're disguised again. The rate at which you recover your cover is directly tied to what sort of movement or lack of movement you're performing at the time while you're recharging. If you stand perfectly still, your cover is going to come back a lot faster versus if you're sprinting. So if standing still, your cover comes back at its fastest speed. If you're walking, that slows down your recovery. And if you're sprinting, that slows it down even further. And of course, if you have any guards or agents shooting at you, that also is going to prevent you from replenishing your cover. So ideally, you want to try to find a nice quiet corner to kind of take a moment for yourself and get your cover back. And probably good practice is to try and safely change disguises as soon as you can after a conflict. just to make sure, because when your cover comes back, you'll be back in the same disguise that you were in before your cover was broken. So if other players saw your cover get broken and they're thinking about following up on whatever someone else started, it could be to your benefit to swap over to a different disguise, if you can safely do so, to try and throw them off the scent, so that at least they don't know which character model you are at that point. Let's see if there's any intel around here. No, nothing in here. I am Vault. But yeah, so keep an eye out for these little breadcrumbs and any NPCs that are acting suspiciously, because you never know. You never know.
Be cool, Ruben. Be cool.
And so once we're done with the actual tutorial part of things here, I'll show a little bit more about the actual setup for loadouts and which agents you can be and that sort of thing. I won't go into too much detail about them because each agent has their own unique abilities and general play styles to go along with it. That sort of thing. But there are some things that generally apply to all agents that I think will be important to cover in the menu where you can actually, you know, switch around and modify them. So normally, if you don't have the VIP keycard, this lock takes 10 intel to hack. So 1, that takes a while, and 2, if you don't have any intel capacity upgrades, that means you have no intel once you unlock this. And you do want to have intel when you actually grab the vault. You actually grab the package inside the vault, rather. And they'll explain that in a minute here. So, with these rooms, in the game, there will be a little light above the door, above each of the entrances to the actual room that has the package in it. And if the light is green, that means that there's nobody else in there. If the light is red, then that means there is at least one other agent inside the package room at that moment. So keep that in mind, that there is an indicator to tell you whether someone is already in the room or not. This one doesn't have it, I'm assuming because it's the tutorial. But if you also enter this room without having VIP cover, then your cover will be drained and broadcast and exposed will be applied on you. So you'll make yourself very much known if you don't have the VIP disguise. So that's one thing that can be good to have the VIP disguise for, is to just grab this. But don't count on it. It's better to be able to just rely on your own skill and expertise to get you out.
Your navigation mode is updated to scan for rival agents. Keep in mind that intel will be drained when you use it. Make good use of this powerful ability. A downside to holding the package is that your position will be pinged to everyone at intervals. Pay attention to the objective gauge at the bottom of your screen. It gradually builds on its own, but the faster you move, the faster it builds. Enough talk. Now it's time to extract. Let's go.
So when you get the package, the music picks up considerably. And this game has a really good soundtrack. Like, it really enhances the experience. So while you're holding the package, you see that our little eye icon down at the bottom center of the screen has turned into an icon depicting the package. There's that little gold ring that's filling up around it. When that gets to full, we leave behind a ping showing where our location was and what direction we were moving when the ping occurred. And when you're sprinting, the ring fills up considerably faster. So ideally, unless you absolutely have to, you probably don't want to be sprinting while you're holding the case. But while you're holding the case, you also have the ability to use this scan, which, if you have intel, you can go into your navigation mode and you can detect rival agents if they're anywhere nearby. So as long as you hold your navigation mode, it's going to slowly drain your intel. And there is a field upgrade that lets you slow down the rate at which your intel drains. So that can also be worth looking into if you find yourself wanting to use this ability a lot. Keep in mind that it does cost 1 intel just to trigger it. So we can see that that's an enemy agent disguised as a guard. So yeah, now they're taking shots at us because they saw us activate the terminal. And in standard matches,
Please don't judge me.
these extraction points, you have 3 to choose from. And you can call the extraction vehicle to any one of them. And there's usually more NPCs kind of like hovering around it, so you can kind of blend in a little bit more. But you need to stand inside the extraction zone and not have any other enemy agents enter the zone, because they can contest it. But once the extraction gauge is full, that's it.
Gonna be so fun.
You are the winner.
I'm ready.
So that's the general core loop and goal of how each match plays out. So you drop in with a civilian disguise and your standard starting equipment, whatever you have set up in the agents menu here. You go throughout the map. You try to find the 3 vault terminals, and as soon as all 3 terminals have been hacked by anybody, then the vault itself will open up, and you can then attempt to extract the package. If you get the package from the vault, you want to take that and try to get out from using one of the extraction points on the map. At its absolute core, that is the gameplay loop. Go in, hack the vault terminals, grab the package, get to extraction, get out. There's a lot of stuff in between all of that, and that's what the tutorial kind of covered, was a lot of the in-between moments to look at while you're going for the terminals. But depending on what kind of play style you like to go for, and it can take some time of just playing and experimenting to figure out what sort of play style suits you best, there are different agents that have different skill sets. So Squire is a pretty good all-rounder. He's the default selection when you first start up the game. And his default expertise, the one that you start with, being able to just detect items in a large area around you. So if you just go into a room use your expertise and just look around for the different items in a room, it can really help a lot with early game looting, for sure. And I think that can be really helpful for people who aren't familiar with the game yet, because then you're not kind of stuck looking through each individual drawer like, oh, does this have something? Does this have something? You could just look around at a glance and know what it is you have available to you at that particular moment. So I think that's a pretty beginner-friendly ability. And then each agent also has a passive ability. So Squires, he gets amped up. He gets the amped up status whenever he's damaged. Or when he first gets damaged, rather. So if somebody shoots you and breaks your cover or something like that, you get a speed boost for a short time. So that can help you to either move around more quickly in combat, or it can help you to disengage from a situation more quickly. So that speed advantage can be very helpful in throwing off other agents depending on how you want to approach a situation. You do have to regain your cover to be able to use it again. So it's really only going to be usable, maybe once per engagement most of the time. Because usually if your cover's broken, you're probably either going to disengage from the fight entirely, or one of you is going to go down. There's not usually a lot of engagements that let you regain your cover and then immediately get back into fighting again. And it's not usually advised to do so unless you absolutely know that you have the upper hand. Which even then, of course, is no guarantee. And then each agent also has their own weapons. So Squire has a pretty decent, all-rounder weapon. It's not super fast at shooting, but it does pretty decent damage. It's got decent reload speed. It's good at, medium to close range. It's not super loud. So it's not going to be incredibly obvious to people who are much farther away where you are if you do need to shoot something. Because there are some guns in this game that make a lot more noise. Like Ace here has a sniper rifle. And as you can imagine, a sniper rifle is going to be a lot louder than a silenced pistol.
What I lack in experience, I make up for in enthusiasm.
But here is a little bit of a twist. Not only does each agent have their own weapon, expertise, and passive, as you unlock different things with them, they each have their own little mastery progressions that you can work through by just gaining experience while using that agent. You can actually unlock 2 additional weapons, expertise, and passive options that you can kind of mix and match to whatever suits your playstyle the most from the options that they have. So, for example, let's say that you're not so worried about being able to find items while you're playing as Squire. You've got a pretty good feel for the game, you know where to find things. So you don't really need item detection. But what would be more helpful to you as a player is you find yourself getting into a lot of fights with agents that just have a little bit more of a combat focus and are more likely to win gunfights if you take them on 1v1. So what you might prefer instead is being able to give yourself not only a speed boost on command, but also giving yourself increased reload speed in case you do need to defend yourself. You can you can have a little bit less downtime in between magazines. So you can reload faster, keep shooting sooner. So just things like that each agent has at their disposal can be helpful to kind of mix and match. Different weapons have different ways of acting. Say if you prefer like a burst pistol, Squire has that option. If you prefer something with a bit more damage per shot, then the javelin that Squire has would be a good option for that. Of course, you could always just stick with the classic and have it work pretty well too. So Squire's a pretty good all-rounder from what I've seen. He's got some pretty good beginner-friendly abilities, and I've enjoyed using him pretty well. I don't have a whole lot of matches so far in the game, so I'll kind of feel out like which agents sort of fit my playstyle more. I have an idea of what I want to do in the game, but it is worth noting that just because an agent is kind of ushered toward a certain playstyle, or they're kind of implied to be a certain playstyle, doesn't mean that they're hard locked into that. Always remember, your brain is your most powerful tool as a spy. So thinking about unique and clever ways to utilize not only your abilities, but also your gadgets, and also just the way that you decide to move around in an environment and things like that, all of those things can contribute to a greater chance of success. So like I was saying with the bounce mat, not only can you use this for mobility to get up to higher places and to cushion your falls or anything like that, they even show it in the little preview video here. You can use it to block doorways. So if you need to disengage from an opponent, or you just need a second to breathe, you can pop that in a doorway and just block their line of sight, block them from closing the distance. They can't get through the doorway very easily. So you can buy yourself a little bit of time if you need to with something like the bounce mat. So always try to keep in mind some little extra fun things that you can do to think outside the box, I guess. So that's something that I feel was pretty important, is just figuring out like kind of how you tend to play the game, what sort of things you value in terms of resources that you want to have available to you. Like if you want to be able to disengage from combat, or be able to, move around the map while leaving people in some degree of confusion,
I simply cannot wait.
this is a great agent to choose. Madame Shu is a great option for moving around the map and confusing people, because one of the things that she can do is that she can actually specifically, she can target an NPC within her line of sight and immediately switch to that NPC as their cover. So basically you're kind of like possessing an NPC. So instead of copying the disguise, you basically become the disguise, which can be really helpful not only for throwing people off in terms of being able to switch disguises more surreptitiously, but it can also throw people off if you're already in combat and you can just reposition mid-fight and also get the cover protection from, being in another disguise. So you can use it in multiple ways. Again, consider the multiple applications to your abilities. Not good at sneaking. Could I just run and gun? So that's one thing I also wanted to address. As it stands right now, this game does kind of come down to who's better in a firefight a lot of the time. You can get a pretty decent amount of progress by just playing it chill and quiet and just staying under the radar. But at some point, you probably are going to have to fight at least one other agent. And so there are combat considerations to keep in mind for moments when that happens. One of the more popular options for the aggressive playstyle
No mystery unsolved when I'm involved.
is Cavalier. Because she's got dual pistols. She's pretty strong. Like they're pretty strong weapons, but also her ability actually lets her track down another agent for a certain amount of time. So you can find evidence that's left behind by other agents interacting with objects like drawers or hacking terminals, things like that. And you can use that evidence to then trace an enemy agent for a certain amount of time, depending on how much evidence you find at once. And you can basically just go find them, or at the very least be informed about where they're going. So Cavalier's a pretty good aggressive option, especially if you can unlock the maximum velocity variant of her passive ability, because she has a melee attack that can be charged up twice. And with the maximum velocity version of that, if you land the kick on somebody, you get the speed boost like Squire does when he's damaged. But it also automatically reloads her weapons. So not only can you keep the pressure on by performing this stronger melee attack, but it also reloads your guns. So that you can really keep the pressure up with Cavalier if you have a gunfight that's extending for a little bit. Plus, being able to track down other enemies also can help keep the pressure on. So if you're looking a bit more run and gun, Cavalier can be a good option for finding people. But another good option, I think, would be Chavez.
Well, retire in style.
Because one, he's got a revolver, so it's got pretty decent damage per shot. But you do have to make sure that you're being pretty accurate. And his default expertise is temporary invincibility, which can be a really nice panic button to have if you're in combat and you need to reposition. You can just put up your shields. So the only thing that's kind of a caveat to this is that your interactions are limited to unlocked doors. So you only have a certain number of things you can actually do while you're invincible, but you're invincible. So it can be a pretty nice panic button to have. And also, the default passive that Chavez has is he has something where some of the damage he takes isn't just permanently lost, it becomes this gray health. And after a certain amount of time, that gray health will start to regenerate again. So it kind of helps to to mitigate some of the damage you take as long as you're surviving your encounters, which the invincibility helps with. Because you're not permanently, you're not just like losing all of the damage, losing health for all the damage you take. You have a chance to get some of it back. So as far as combat encounters go, he can help to make the experience a bit more forgiving, because he has a panic button and he has a little bit of a cushion in the health department. So I'd say those are two good options to my knowledge.
Agent Ace, on standby.
Obviously, having a sniper rifle is pretty strong. This is like a 2 to 3 shot on other players if you play your cards right. But consider that you're gonna have a slow firing rate, and you're probably going to have to hip fire a sniper rifle if the enemy gets anywhere close to you. So, high damage, but pretty difficult to use if you find yourself in a close quarters situation, which on some maps and in some particular locations is going to be very difficult for Ace to manage. So, high damage is great and all, but very, very difficult to use in close quarters, I'd say. And
this
then
mission will be someone's last. I'll make sure of it.
Red is very new. She was just introduced like in the past week or something like that. So I don't know very much about her playstyle yet, because people haven't really made like a lot of, they don't have a lot of information out about, you know, play guides and that sort of thing of how to play as Red. But she does have some interesting combat applications from what I've seen so far. Yeah, to sum it up, if you're looking for something more run and gun,
can't believe it's my last mission.
Chavez can give you a nice kind of panic button and cushion for taking on fights or getting out of them if you need to. Or if you're looking to track people down more actively,
Hope they're ready.
Cavalier is a pretty good option too, because her expertise lets her track down opponents. And then if you can learn to use the maximum velocity variant of her charged melee attack, that can also synergize really well. So Cavalier is very much more aggressive, and Chavez has got more of like more of a protection, which I guess makes sense. But yeah, for the playstyle that I've kind of been looking for, I'm thinking more so playing into the spy aspect of things. I feel like that's where I find the most enjoyment, because there are so many other games that are shooters that I could play instead if I really wanted to just focus on the shooting aspect of the game. Me personally, I really want to emphasize the spy aspect of things. So
I get to keep whatever I find, right?
this agent here is more so what I'm interested in playing probably long term. Because while he's not great in combat, his weapon isn't super strong. His expertise lets you become invisible, which more or less acts like Chavez's invulnerability, in that you don't take any damage. but it also makes it so that you can't be detected either. So you can use this pretty sneakily to try and throw somebody off the scent of which way you're trying to disengage out of a fight or something like that. It does have the same drawback of you can only interact with unlocked doors. So keep that in mind if you ever need to get out of a sticky situation. The main reason I wanted him, though, the main reason I want to try to learn him, is specifically for the pickpocket variant of his passive, which I believe is the rank 7. Yeah, it's rank 7 on his mastery track, so it takes a little while of playing him to actually unlock it. But being able to steal items from rivals without breaking your cover it seems pretty handy. And basically what it does is it will... what his melee attack does by default is it steals the highest value item from whatever player it is that you're hitting. If the player doesn't have any items, then you steal intel instead. The real kicker, though, is that normally when somebody's holding on to the package, the only way to get them to drop it is to actually eliminate them. The difference here is he can actually steal the package using his pickpocket ability. So he doesn't have to kill other players to steal the package from them. So that can come in real handy if you know how to play around it. Main thing though is by default, the melee attack does damage, so your cover gets broken because you're melee attacking, and whoever you hit, their cover also gets broken because you hit them with an attack. So it can be risky trying to use this because you're going to be starting a fight pretty much as soon as you steal something from them. I want to get to a point where I unlock the pickpocket variant, because then there is at least a little bit of hesitation of, wait, which of these disguised NPCs is the one that just stole my item? I think that'd be a pretty fun skill to try to master. Especially once I get better at identifying other players. Without it devolving into a firefight, basically. Being able to use the pickpocketing ability to snag something off of them. Now, one thing to note is that they recently introduced and are still actively working on a heat system in the game to basically disincentivize people just randomly shooting NPCs to tell whether they're enemy players or not, because that's something that people have been doing. So they're trying to figure out a good balance of making it so that if you do actively attack an NPC and they're not a player, that adds to your heat meter. And at different levels of heat, you'll get certain debuffs. Basically, punishments for playing sloppy and not really picking your targets wisely. So that's something that you have to be careful of, even with pickpocket. Is if you try to pickpocket an NPC that's, not a disguised player, then you're gonna start building up heat. And that heat takes a while to kind of dissipate or vent, as they've been calling it. I don't know exactly how it works. I haven't generated any heat yet because I've been playing very passively, just trying to get used to moving around the map and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know how the heat system works at this point. But it'll be interesting to see how that works with his pickpocket ability, because I'm definitely going to try to use that when I unlock it. Probably won't be too inclined to use it as it's at its default. Probably I'll wait until I unlock the pickpocket variant of his passive before I start using them. But that's just me.
Agent Squire, reporting for duty.
I would never. I'm sure you wouldn't, Bless. I'm sure you wouldn't. Yeah, one thing that's also nice, we'll cover this real quick before we get into an actual match, is they do have a nice little training room. It's a little bare bones in terms of functionality. There are some things that I would change about it to make it more user-friendly and just make it a little easier to experiment with certain things. I kind of look to the firing range from Apex Legends as inspiration, as kind of like the standard of what I would look for. That's just in my personal experience. But you can play as any of the agents, using any of their weapons, any of their expertise, and any of their passives. You have access to all of the gadgets, of which you can have 2 equipped. And you can also test out your different field upgrade kits. Now this is something I forgot to cover that I do want to cover when we get back to the main menu, but we'll get that in just a second. But basically, you can come in here, you can deploy, and you've got some different intel terminals, some ammo dispensers. You've got all 5 of your field upgrades here. Some different ammo boxes, health stations, different stuff like that. You have this nice little jungle gym to kind of move around in. You can summon a disguised enemy agent to kind of test things out on. And then over here, you have a firing range where you can actually test out like how much damage you're doing per shot. You got your per shot damage there, and you've got your total up top. So you can kind of get an idea of how much damage you're dealing. There is a headshot multiplier, but ultimately I don't know how much that comes into play in this game. I don't think it's quite as important to be landing headshots as it is to just be landing all of your shots that you can, especially with with the slower rate of fire agents that have very slow weapons. It's important to make sure that to get your damage numbers to be where they're actually helping you out. Well, make sure you land your shots. Plus, the head is such a small target. And if anyone has played, like, if you're familiar with, like, the playstyle of something like Counter-Strike, where you are basically hip firing most of the time, you're probably not going to want to aim down sights in this game. Hip firing is going to be much more beneficial for you in a large number of situations. Obviously, there are some exceptions. Like if you're at a real long distance, hip firing is probably going to be tough. If you're using an agent like Ace, where you have a sniper, obviously you're going to want to try to utilize your range and your scope as much as you can. Things like that. But yeah, since what you get is what you get, you can't change your attachments on your gun. You can only change, you know, what gun you're using, and you only have 3 of them per agent. There's a little bit of room for variety, but you're probably going to be better off just hip firing normally and not trying to aim down sights. At least that's what I've found to be most helpful and what I see most people doing whenever they play. But yeah, it gives you a nice little spot to kind of test things out. You've got some different terminals, ammo. This also acts as the pre-match lobby area. So when you load into a match, before the match actually starts, all the agents will be kind of like hanging out in this same room. So it serves multiple functions. Not only is it a firing range, testing zone for stuff, but they also have it as a pre-game lobby area. And of course you can look in here and see the technicians doing their stuff. Keep it fit, because fitness is important. And then testing out some different things, like the bounce mats are in here. You can see some of the camera drones around. You can see them using the turrets here. And this guy's hiding behind the shield umbrella. We got the goo traps and some other devices and whatnot. So the one thing that I think would make this firing range area better is being able to have regenerating resources. Because right now, if I were to grab all of my field upgrades,
Unlocking my full potential.
if I just grab them all, and then I want to try out a different agent, we can grab the field upgrades again, which is nice.
From me. Oh, very generous of you.
But if you use all the intel, like if you use up the intel,
Not even complicated.
I don't think these terminals come back. I think it would be more convenient if you could just get your lineup of field upgrades here again, because wherever you decide to redeploy from is where all your stuff is gonna get dropped. So like you're gonna have to run all the way over here to get your stuff again. So
Please don't judge me.
that can be a
Unlocking
little
my full potential.
a little cumbersome. And I don't think the intel terminals refresh.
I can never say no to extras. They say sharing is caring, don't they?
Because the thing is, if you use up all the ammo, since the ammo boxes don't refill, and you can only get a limited amount of intel, because these don't come back, you eventually will run out of ammo, and you'll have to restart the lobby, basically. You'll have to quit to menu and then go back in
It was obvious you would pick
to the training. So I find that just a little bit cumbersome. Just a little bit. But ultimately not a deal breaker. It gets the job done. It lets you play around with some different stuff and all that. I think it would also be nice to maybe have some different have a different room where you can like switch disguises, because right now you only have whatever civilian disguise the game gives you, and whatever the randomly spawned in disguised agent gives you. You don't really have a room filled with all the different NPCs to try out the different disguises or anything. I think that would be an interesting addition to have, but ultimately, like I said, not a deal breaker. So, one thing I wanted to touch on before we actually get into the match. God, I've been spending so much time explaining this game, but considering I want to play this more frequently, I think it's good for me to set the groundwork of, at the very least, my understanding of how everything works, up to the amount of knowledge that I have. Because this seems like something that I will be playing for a while. Again, early impressions, hopefully that holds true long term. But I want to play this long term. Hopefully the experience retains enough of the fun over an extended period of time that I'll end up playing it more over time. But I hold a cautious optimism, because it doesn't seem like there's a ton of people playing this game yet. But I am hopeful that this game will see some consistent activity, and I plan to contribute my part to that. So, the last thing I want to cover before we actually get into some solo matches and just play the game and try it out and all that and just see how things go. The field upgrades are something that you set up in advance in the field upgrades menu. So there are a couple of things.
Ready for action.
There are a couple of things that you set up in the menu before you even get into a game. I'm not gonna go over cosmetics because, you know, cosmetics are pretty self-explanatory. The big one, the big two are you're gonna want to focus on in terms of your preparation, aside from your agent-specific stuff, is your gadgets and your field upgrades. Now, the field upgrades I want to cover first because they were more directly addressed in the tutorial than I think the gadgets were, because we only got to see one gadget in the tutorial. But basically, you have 5 slots. This is the default layout, I think, is this one. You have your gray, your green, your blue, your purple, and your gold. Basically, each of these slots acts as an indicator of how strong the ability that you put into that slot will end up being. So you have access to 9 different upgrades that you can equip, and you can equip those 9 upgrades to any of the 5 slots. The gray slot's going to be the weakest, so if you have your cover accelerator upgrade, which gives you faster cover regeneration, if you put that in your gray slot, your cover is going to regenerate 25% faster while you have this, like once you've found this in a match. If you were to put it on the gold slot, however, your cover accelerator is going to regenerate your cover 70% faster when you get it. And that goes for the other things too. Your extended ammo pouch will give you 30% extra ammo capacity at gray, but if you have a gold version of it, then that's going to give you 100% extra ammo capacity. So you're basically doubling your ammo capacity when you find this in a match. So as far as I understand how this works, whenever you find a field upgrade of a particular color, it's going to be whatever upgrade that you have decided to put in that color slot in this field upgrade menu. So if you find, if I were to find a green field upgrade chip somewhere in a match, for me, that would be an overclock chip. For someone else, they may have one of the other upgrades in their green slot. They might have the external hard drive to increase their Intel capacity. They might have that in their green slot. So for them, they would be getting increased Intel capacity rather than faster hacking speed. So depending on what agent you're playing and what sort of playstyle you're going for with them will determine what upgrades you feel are most valuable to your personal playstyle. So for example, with Larson here, I don't know how to pronounce his name per se. There's like 3 different pronunciations you could go with, I think. But I'm going to call him Larson for now because larceny, haha, funny joke. I get where they got the name from. The fact that he can turn invisible with using his expertise, it seems like it would be incredibly valuable to have that on the fastest cooldown possible. So having that in the most powerful slot makes sense for his specific skill set. The fact that he has a very useful expertise that could really benefit from a massively sped up cooldown. The other thing to consider is that each of these slots corresponds to a general area of the map that you're going to be able to find them. So this gray one, the grave field upgrade, you're going to be able to find those in vaults that are just, these vaults could be hanging around anywhere, just out in the open. You don't have to go to any specific room to find them. The green vaults, you're going to find those in staff rooms, which are also green. And you might begin to see a correlation. The blue vaults you're going to find in the guard rooms. The purple vaults you're going to find in technician areas, which are, the possible vault terminal rooms and also the rooms just outside the vault itself. And then the gold slots, the gold vault, these gold pieces, you're going to find those exclusively from vault terminals. I don't remember if you get one if you retrieve the package from the vault itself, but I know for sure you get these from the vault terminals. So these are extremely limited, but they are the strongest. So you have to consider not only what you want for your personal playstyle and what agent you're playing and all that sort of stuff, but you also have to consider how accessible each one of these field upgrades is going to be in a given match. Because you're not going to probably get the gold field upgrade very frequently, or at least not without some hard-fought battle. So kind of have to keep that in mind. Like it's a delicate balancing act that you probably get more of a feel for, or you could even start to play around, depending on how much experience you have with the game. Like if you want social battery, you're probably going to be more likely to try to find guard rooms early on in a match and try to grab that upgrade on the earlier side of things versus just kind of going to whatever room suits whatever room happens to be nearby. you might move with more intention to try to find a guard room. Just as an example. Okay. Last thing I want to cover. The tutorial kind of touched on this a little bit, but it only showed off one gadget. And I definitely don't have very many unlocked as it stands anyway. So I can only show it off a little bit more, but I feel like it's important. You have some different categories of gadgets that you can choose from. Bounce mat, the shield brella, and the automated turret are considered defense. The bounce mat is defense in kind of a loose sense of the word because of the usage of being able to use it to block sightlines, block doorways, and change your position during firefights and that sort of thing. I've put on the automated turret for myself just because I feel like it could be a nice thing to have as an extra help in forced combat situations, or if I can kind of predict that it's gonna come up. But if anyone's ever played Prop Hunt, then this should be a pretty familiar mechanic to you. You can scan an object with the Hollow Mimic gadget and transform into the object that you scanned. You can still move around and you can rotate your position. So this can lead to some really interesting tomfoolery if you get more experience with it and kind of play around with it. It's not something that I'm very familiar with because I never played Prop Hunt or anything like that. So I'm not super experienced with that side of things, but I do want to experiment with it at some point because I think it could come in real handy. Especially as a disengagement tool. If you're really quick-witted about how you use it, you can escape some pretty nasty situations just by being able to turn into an object that nobody suspects. And, like, nobody would really think twice about it. But as far as gadgets you start with the bounce mat and the spyglass by default. I really like the spyglass because it lets you hack devices from a distance. So you don't have to walk right up to an object to be able to hack it. And because you can hack devices remotely, you could sit down somewhere. You could just like sit on a chair or a bench or something as a social action, and then just be hacking nearby devices with the spyglass. And depending on the situation, you could be keeping yourself real under the radar and not have to worry about whether somebody knows that you specifically are the one hacking everything. So the spyglass is a really nice tool, especially early on when you don't really have the other gadgets unlocked yet or haven't a sense of your playstyle. I think the recon drone could be really nice though. I'm curious to try that out when I actually unlock it, because I think that might be a contender for one of these two slots. Now, nice thing is, you have your four field upgrade slots. These are shared across all agents, so you can have up to 4 decks figured out ahead of time. But each agent...
They never see me coming.
Each agent has their own gadgets set up. So they'll choose from the same gadgets, but each agent, you can basically have their gadgets already set up and saved for when you have them selected.
This is so exciting!
So, with all of that covered, we're gonna let Twitch run an ad, because I've already put it off as long as I can, and I'm gonna queue up for a solo game, and we're gonna see what happens. So, here we go. So we got a minute and a half before the match starts to just kind of make sure we're all good on everything. Make sure that our field upgrades all look good. We got all our gadgets in order. You can apply cosmetics to your gadgets if you have them. This game's got cosmetics all over the place. You've got a very Overwatch kind of system where it's like you get some different color schemes of different rarities, and then the most rare ones being like actual costume changes, not just color changes. So some interesting stuff there. You can change your intro poses, some stuff like that. Change the cosmetic on their weapon. And then there's some calling cards too. So these are actual like calling cards that you can throw out into the world, which is kind of interesting. So you can actually leave your calling card around if you really want to be like, if you really want to rub it in people's faces or something, or leave your personal mark on the operation. So that could be interesting. Alrighty. And then you also get an overview of who's in the match. Alright, let's see how this goes. Every match is a new opportunity. Alright, so that's what I look like to everyone else. So let's start out by getting some intel. I believe the game usually tries to spawn you separately of other players. So I shouldn't be running into anybody immediately. So there's the vault right there. Now, notice the vault does also have a countdown on it. So if people don't hack all the vault terminals before that countdown is done, then the vault will automatically open, just to keep the game moving. So that's nice. So in each map, there are 5 objective points, labeled A through E. 3 of those 5 objective points will have a vault terminal to hack. It's up to you to get to them.
Navigation mode, destination set.
Get to the different objective areas and see whether there is or is not a vault terminal present. So this game is a lot of social deduction. You really want to try to figure out and be careful about who is or is not a player. I hear some gunshots. I don't know how close they are. I kind of want to get a guard outfit, but this area is pretty busy. So yeah, I usually just try to play it nice and slow. And the thing about the objective points is they're always going to be through a guard room, and then the vault terminals themselves are in technician rooms. Somebody running into the bathroom or this area. Curious. Just move a little bit. I usually keep a bit closer eye on anyone who is running, because running is not a very common action. It's not impossible. I'll grab that. Oh, I heard a silenced pistol. That's a little sketchy. Yeah, sprinting is definitely not an uncommon action per se.
Perhaps trying harder would be a good idea. A vault terminal was deactivated.
Now the thing is, you don't know which vault terminal was deactivated at which point. You just know that someone's hacked one. At this point, I'm feeling kind of pressured. I don't like being there. You can kind of hack the ones as you're going by them, which is nice.
Just going to grab something.
Arrival has deactivated a vault terminal.
Okay, so people are starting to get those terminals. I usually let that happen, just because I don't like putting my neck out and being the one to risk myself. Ooh. Well, that works out for me. Okay, so I'm full on intel. Let's open this. Grab some more intel here. The thing you gotta be careful about with the spy glasses is that they can be, they can kind of tunnel vision you. So you want to make sure that you're not getting so caught up in remote hacking that you stop paying attention to your surroundings.
Got it.
Any other... Okay, got a decent amount of intel. There's a guard. They're moving with some intention there, though. So that's the thing, is sometimes it's really hard to tell whether it's an AI or it's a player. Because, you know, their pathing lengths are pretty random feeling at times. Whether they sprint or not is somewhat difficult to tell, whether that's a player just kind of rushing things or if that's more AI pathing. So I definitely feel most comfortable kind of playing it close to the vest and just not doing anything too obvious, and just really, I tend to focus on blending in a lot more. At this point, I could use some key cards, though. I can't hack the door because it's not technically in my line of sight. Someone's been in here, and there's some gunshots nearby. So yeah, there's been at least a couple of people in here, considering that that 2 of the green safes have been opened. those are some alarms. What are those alarms for? This is very loud. Make key cards nearby. There's something in that room. That direction. I think. No.
Vault terminal deactivated by
Alright.
bypass.
3 vault terminals are done, so I'm just gonna spritz this plant from really far away. And since all the vault terminals have been deactivated, there's the VIP, by the way.
Open.
There are 3 entrances to the vault. I tend to aim for the closest one and just try to work my way in. A little bit at a time and just keep an eye out for other people.
Destination reached.
But I want a guard outfit. I like having a guard outfit before I go in here. Someone died here. Yikes. Oh, actually. I could probably snag this disguise. If I'm careful. No. He's going straight up. Well, I could probably grab this one, actually. Hopefully it's not another player, because it might be another player disguised as a guard. You never know. Oh, yeah, that's not happening. Whew. I'm playing real slow. I do not want to get caught out. I'm going to take a bit of a risk here.
Hey, I have the same suit.
Just keep myself vigilant. Okay. Alright, I think we're okay for now. No telling for sure, though. So yeah, as soon as you enter these vault doors, you're in a guard room area, so you want to make sure that either you get in here as a guard or you are really, really ready to get a guard disguise. So, it's a little bit... This is where the intensity starts to ramp up a bit more, especially when you don't have key cards, like me. I have absolutely nothing for key cards. So I have to hack open every door, which costs intel. So I'm just gonna hack that. Try to get my intel back. I got some of it. Trying to play this close to the vest. I do not like to expose myself if I don't need to. I'm gonna take a quick ping of the area. There's ammo. But no key card or anything. Someone's taken the package. So now we can see the 3 extraction points. So now one person's got the package, everyone else has to try and stop the person with the package from escaping. Now this is the first time I've actually experienced like a proper extraction. Because basically the only other matches I've played so far, I was right near the vault when somebody picked up the package. So either I've stopped them right before they were gonna get it, or died basically right after. That was them. 100%. That technician running out, that was totally them. Yeah. Yeah, that was not sussy at all. So they're heading for B. Yep. Yep, somebody's already trying to extract. I'm just gonna set this up.
Extraction vehicle on standby. Catch them before they get away.
Oh, Squire. Oh, melee. Melee. Nope. I wasn't close enough to melee him, but pretty close. Oh, they died anyway. Yep, someone came and cleaned him up. That's what happens. They're probably gonna extract. No worries, though. I tried to set up as best I could with what I had. But
A bit messy, but we got there.
pretty fun, though. I enjoy just the blending in aspect of things. So that pace of play really works for me, because I can spend most of the game just kind of chilling out. And just trying to find stuff. I need to get better. One thing I need to learn is finding key cards so that I'm not having to worry about intel quite as much. But yeah, the intensity really ramps up once the package is out of the vault. All bets are off, because you've got the package carriers got the target painted on their back for as long as they're holding it. And you don't know how many players are left. So there could be any number of players left over if you can't personally account for every single elimination that's happened throughout the course of the match. Which most of the time you can't. But yeah. Yeah, stealth games, but not stealth included to games. Yeah, I agree. I love these anonymized names, by the way. I think that's... So yeah, all of these names that you're seeing above the players, these are real players. But I'm pretty sure that the names themselves are randomly generated, or they're not randomly generated, but they have like bot names, I guess. Where they're not actual player names, but they're like fill-in names. Probably to help prevent stream sniping. I know Dead by Daylight has the same kind of thing, where instead of having the players' names, you just have the names of the characters that they're playing as. So like if I was playing as the Wraith or something like that, and I wanted to appear anonymous to other people, I would not show up as Harikunojo, I would just show up as the Wraith. So let's see, different venue. Because that's the other thing too, is there's different maps to learn. So different maps are going to have different strategies tied to them.
Updating coordinates. Navigation mode.
Let's head
destination
toward D.
set.
Why not? Someone's already opened that field upgrade, so that's a little concerning. That means someone's already been around here pretty recently. Moderately concerning.
I feel so good!
Let's go in here. Let's just take a look around. We could get a staff disguise.
Remember, you're part of the staff now.
I love how even disguising yourself is a bit of a risk, because you can steal the disguise off of another player. And they'll be able to tell.
Vault terminal deactivated. Your competition is serious.
Okay, so someone's got one. I actually have a key card for a change, which is nice.
We do not want to call you slow, but someone else deactivated a vault terminal.
Sorry, buddy.
I mean, yeah. Please don't judge me.
I'm gonna take all that, thank you. Faster cover regeneration is nice. If only I could grab that food. If only I had social battery, that'd be nice. A couple of things that'd be nice right about now. But I have the staff key card, I can just go to the staff room. Oh, a tripwire, I see. I see the problem here. So we got their cover. Well, oh, you.
You or me. So
Clever, clever. I'm gonna take that. Oh, good.
Critical.
dropping this here.
I mean, I don't really have much of an option. They know where I am. Took out a couple of people, though. It's a little more gunfight heavy than my other matches have been. Whew. Okay, so I gotta look out for those tripwires. I wasn't sure why they got scolded for going in there, but that explains it. Alright. Now I know to look for tripwires. So let me actually head back to menu real quick while we...
Ready for action.
Oh, look. It's our definitely original concept loot case.
This is so exciting.
Definitely doesn't look familiar in animation or stylization at all to any other games that might involve loot crates. I love how unsubtle they were about that too. It's like, if you've played Overwatch even a little bit and have opened even maybe a couple of the loot boxes, that animation should look real familiar. That's funny. But hey, that works out pretty well, I guess. And the nice thing is,
I wonder whose life I'll ruin today.
you can unlock all of the agents free to play, because as you level up, you do get these credits, and that lets you unlock characters. You start out with these 3 here,
Don't worry, I'm gonna make you proud.
which is part of why I started with Squire, because it was the most well-rounded out of these 3. But yeah, probably what I need to get better at in situations like that too is learning how to disengage. Like just breaking line of sight, not staying in the area and hunkering down to try to get out of trouble. Really just completely blowing the whole popsicle stand. Just up and leave so that you're not anywhere near the scene of the crime when the reinforcements show up. Probably was also a bad idea for me to try to go back into the room where the other person had trouble going into the room. But I didn't think about it at the moment. But yeah, so what they used was these tripwires. If an enemy agent walks through the tripwires, their cover will immediately be blown. So that's what happened there, is we both had our cover blown by the tripwire. Because someone set a tripwire across the doorway. So that's what happened there. So, my bad. Not sure I would use that. But yeah, still a fun game though. I appreciate hip Wisconsin. I appreciate the blend of like how they've approached the stealth system. I just need to develop my senses over time for things like, oh, is there a tripwire across the doorway? How do I tell? Just really starting to get a feel for that sort of thing and what to look for when I'm out in the field. As far as blending in though, I feel like I don't usually get caught out by people. I haven't been getting caught out by people who are just kind of wandering around. I've done a good enough job blending in so far to the point that I'm not getting just randomly called out in the open. It's usually when push comes to shove that people actually start to kind of like put the pressure back on me. All right, I'm gonna make a bold move here and just immediately grab a staff disguise.
I can barely remember to clean my own room.
And then move on. Because the thing about the civilian disguise is it's very good in the sense that it's very general. That's
Finally,
not what I
can use
wanted.
my talent for small talk.
That is not what I wanted at all.
Don't look at me.
I'm just going to try to disengage from this, because instead of doing the social interaction, it decided to switch my disguise instead, because there was a civilian standing right there. So I'm just going to disengage from the situation and check to make sure there's no one following me. And just try to play it as cool and casual as I can.
They shouldn't
And
leave
hey.
those lying around. Oh, please, more.
It just works out that there was a staff keycard back there. So I can get in here without having to use any intel. Perfect. Let's grab some intel, because I would like to open one of these vaults.
Doing your job for you.
Wow,
A vault terminal was deactivated.
quick vault terminal, huh? Ooh, gunfire already too. Alright, I'm gonna grab this key card. Grab this. Grab the intel.
Fast?
And where's the closest objective? I don't even see Objective E. Objective E just like doesn't exist. There is some gunfire happening like right here.
Destination set.
I'm just gonna let that happen.
A vault terminal was deactivated by someone else.
I would like to like actually engage in the social action, but for some reason it's like not working. I'll just take the vaults then.
Hey, I'm good.
So yeah, there was some gunfire nearby, so I'm just trying to...
I feel so good.
I'm just trying to play chill a little bit. Okay. All seems good so far. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can try and get... good options on a...
Easier than I thought.
Interesting animations. It's a bit of a risk here. Ah. They walked away too fast for me to grab them. I started my disguise hack kind of late. What's that?
Do not be alarmed, but arrival has deactivated a vault terminal.
Okay, so I'm gonna play it super chill right now, because those vault doors are gonna open.
Prove to us we are
I want to see who goes in. I want to see who goes in. Because I know there's 3 entrances. Problem here is I need a guard to disguise. Take a little bit of extra intel. I feel like there's too many areas where there's a little bit too much visibility for me to get a good guard disguise going here. Some maps I've had better luck finding good isolated areas to grab some disguises. This is not one of those times.
You're not supposed to be here.
Oh, you are just unfortunate, aren't you? Now they're still after me. Can I have my cover back, please? Thanks. Oh, well, that was a bad idea. Let me disguise as guard.
No one will get
Then I
past
can
me
revive the guards.
except me.
Someone's definitely been in here before. Because there's a lot of... been a lot of activity. A lot of looted stuff there. Okay, so that was incredibly sloppy on my part, but... I guess it kind of worked out. I guess I should
Updating coordinates.
aim for that. Alright. We'll just head in the direction of the vault. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna take a quick pit stop in here. I'm gonna take a bit of a risk here, grab some health, and just immediately duck out. They will be none the wiser, I'm sure. And I think the biggest benefit of the attention cycle is that there is no indication of how many other players there are.
I can't let them get away.
Oh. Okay, so someone already peeked. Someone already peeked with the scan ability. You can see if you're being scanned because there'll be a pretty obvious visual effect that occurs toward the bottom of your screen. Okay, so they're probably heading for C. Be my guess.
Navigation mode, destination.
So yeah, they're scanning me. They know they know where I am to the extent that I'm being scanned. Beyond that though, they don't necessarily know. So it would behoove me to keep an eye on where they're going, because they could switch direction at any time. And only the ping will let me know. Yeah, that ping is kind of far away. Yeah, that ping is still pretty far away. I'll try to hide a turret there just in case they decide to come for the closest extraction point. Let's see how this goes. So right there, which means they could come out that door or that door. It's kind of a toss-up. Oh, they're scanning me. They know I'm at that door. Oh, they know. They're scanning me pretty hard. That's them. That's them, 100%. That's them. They know.
I hope I can blend in. They seem to be on edge.
Alright, they're trying to extract. I've got not much choice here.
This is your last chance.
No, can really do at this point.
Arrive at the designated coordinates.
Oh, he's shielding up. Oh well. I didn't think to contest him. Oh well. Each match is a new learning experience for sure.
On my way back home.
I love how they use the asterisks to show emphasis on a word. It's interesting. Alright, not too bad though. Not too bad.
Ready for action.
We finally have our first season token, I guess. I can get an XP booster, or I can get a bundle of credits. I think I'm gonna take the tangible option.
This is so exciting.
Not too bad though, at least I didn't die. I think any match where I can actively attempt to contest somebody and not die in the process is pretty good for early experience. So, I think I've got time for one more, maybe two more, depending on how quick the matches go, but probably one more at this pace. And I see that Twitch is going to try to run another ad, so I'm going to queue up, and we're just going to get this ad out of the way so it doesn't interrupt anything else. So, we will be right back. Go for it, Twitch. Do your thing, I guess. Alright, so it takes about 30 seconds to find a match. Not too bad. Alrighty. Let's see how this match goes. Yeah, that one, that map that we were just playing on, I feel like it's hard for me to get a good, a safe place to get a guard outfit. The guard disguise is kind of hard for me to get on that one. At the different disguises. I haven't been using my expertise very much. I haven't been scanning. I've just been so focused on like blending in that I haven't even been scanning for items in the environment. Like, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should actually use the skills available to me to my benefit and actually make use of them. Alright, here we go again. Hard sell. Hard sell indeed. Alright, let's see. So you don't want to be jumping out of windows because standard NPCs don't do that. They don't really ever jump. I'll take that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Somebody just opened this. Oh no, I'm already kind of sketched out, man. Take the
Unlocking my
overclock.
full potential.
Be good. And do keep in mind that NPCs can also interact with objects, so they can, like, open drawers and stuff. So, no guarantees. So that's a vault entrance right there. So I'm on, like, the opposite side of the map from where I usually am.
That's it?
So let's...
Easier than I thought.
Alright, I've gathered up a decent amount of
Success.
intel. Oh. Ooh. I hear gunfire already. People getting spicy. So here's a nice benefit of the spyglass. You can just keep walking while grabbing things from a distance. And you hardly even have to go out of your way to do it,
Updating coordinates.
which is really nice. Be able to just walk by and grab stuff. That's incredibly useful. I find it to be handy, at least. Now, I would like to be able to get into that room, but I do not have any key cards. Perhaps if I take a stroll... Gunfire again, huh? Yeah, let everyone else shoot each other. I'm fine just not getting shot. I mean, that sounds good to me. I like not getting shot. It's pretty cool. Let them fight amongst themselves. Okay. I was kind of hoping to see a key card out here or something, but I'm not seeing anything.
We do not want to call you slow, but someone else deactivated a vault terminal.
Let's pivot to E.
Navigation mode, destination set.
I'd like to scan a room and try to see if I can find something key card-ish. Nope. Hi. I'll just take
No
that.
one will get past me, except me.
Okay. I'm gonna hack this open. Alright. Here's hoping. Find something decent in here. Are there any... Alright, I guess I'll take blue. Be nice. Try to hack this from a distance. Because I am basically out of intel. Here, you know what I'll do? Scan the room. Do we have anything useful in here? There's some intel on the desk? No, that's in a different room. Yeah, I think I got pretty much everything out of this room. Alright. I don't have enough intel to hack that open. Uh-oh. I'm in a bit of a predicament here. I either have to jump off the balcony or I have to socially engineer my way back in. do not want to jump off the balcony. Because that is immensely obvious. But at this point, there's no one coming in. Oh, never mind, I'll take that. I'm getting the heck out of here. Yeah, it takes 8 intel to open that. And I do not have 8 intel, and I'm not going to get more intel from this room because it's already bone dry. Let's see what we have elsewhere.
Do not be alarmed, but
Okay.
Arrival has deactivated a vault terminal.
That's fine. Such is their want. I'm gonna just take that. Is there any other? Yep. Let's see here. I want to go...
Updating coordinates.
I guess I'll go toward D. Why not? I'll take that. Nothing in there. Man, I never find anything in those. Whoop. Somebody's setting off some alarms. Who's setting off alarms down here? Who the heck is setting off alarms down here? Good gravy.
Arrival has deactivated a vault terminal.
Someone's not being very stealthy about this. Well, we've got a vault entrance right down there.
Vault open.
So we got one there, so we're at the center. I want to look and see if anybody goes in here right away. Running. Somebody's a sussy baka. Where you going, buddy? Somebody's being very not subtle. I guess I'll take my opportunity to start joining the fun. Wonder where my runny buddy has gone off to. I have a feeling I know where they are. I'm only slightly sus.
Am I doing this right?
All right. Taking my chances here that that's not a person. I'll just head in here. Have a seat.
Destination set.
I'm gonna grab this. It's a little overkill, but not a problem. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That was interesting. Somebody killed some guards and then...
That's enough rest. Move on. Thank you. Come on, Sleeping Beauty.
Now that's a headache.
I know who you are. Alright, I'm gonna spend all my intel at this point. But I'm just gonna try to recoup it as much as I can in here. Let's see what's good in here. There's some intel at the desk. Some hidden intel in these. That was definitely a player in front of me though. I saw that. They were acting so incredibly suspicious. Bro, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way, dude. There's no way. There's no way. There they go. Like they're totally not sus or anything. Oh, good. Ace is on my trail. Great. I think that was them. There's no way. There's no way, dude. There's no way. There's actually no way. These people are being so sussy. Oh my gosh, that is insane. Don't. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. You better keep walking. Oh, this is so not okay. What on earth? I'm gonna grab a little bit more intel. Alright, this is risky. Do I go for technician? I don't think I do. I should probably switch up my guard outfit though. Would be good for me to refresh my disguise. Since I've been spotted and possibly suspected by at least 2 other people at this point, it would probably not be a terrible idea for me to...
I have to stop them.
Well,
Stop them soon.
I guess that answers that question. Oop! Bro. No shot. No shot, dude. No shot, dude. Oh my god. Of course, there was someone else up here too. They really just jumped down. And that's why you never start a firefight. That's why you never start a firefight. You only finish what other people have started. Unless you're absolutely forced. Oh my gosh, that was a bad call on my part, but still funny. Oh, I can't let other people drag me down to their level of lacking caution. I can't believe they just straight jumped down. They didn't even put down a landing pad, they just jumped down. Oh, man. Imagine you see some, like, scientist just jump from, like, the 3rd floor of a building. Just land on the ground and walk away like nothing happened. Definitely not suspicious at all. I want to do one more. I want to do one more. I'm definitely gonna keep playing this after the stream too, but I just want to do one more right now. Yeah, I just really have to make sure that I don't let other people not being cautious lead to me being like, oh, they're an easy target. Let me just mop them up real quick. You need to have a pretty specific kind of scientist to do that. Like, if you're getting like an Aperture Lab scientist that's testing the fall, like the long fall boots, maybe then you'd expect to see them coming from the 3rd floor all the way down to the ground. Also, I love the like fill-in name Booyah Bomb. I love how many references they've dropped in from other games. Because, like, they have the shield Brella. That feels pretty clearly, at least somewhat, possibly inspired by the Splat Brella, also Splatoon related. But a shielding umbrella is not like a novel concept specific to Splatoon or anything, but it's still funny. They got Booyah Bomb. Alright, well, I guess I'm just gonna gather a bunch of intel right off the bat. Because I can do that. Anything else? I'll grab that. Oh, there's a guard post here already. Well, guess I'll grab this and move on. We have a staff member we could try to grab a disguise of. Whoa. That's fast.
I hope no one hollers at me.
Speedy boy. I'm just keep an eye out behind me in case they were a player that I just stole the disguise off of. Okay, I guess I'll grab this. Okay. Go here. I'll grab that intel real quick. Is there any other intel I can snag from here? I could hack the door. I think I'll do that. I don't think there'll be any problem with me just popping in here real quick. Taking a quick scan around. I will take this as well. Pop that open. Ooh, purple. I'll take a technician key card, thank you. Yep, there goes the gunfire. They're starting up. Alright, I can hold more intel now, which is good. So there's only balconies here. There's nothing in these drawers, so... Let me just grab a little bit more intel. And then... We have a technician key card, that's actually pretty good. considering how expensive
Navigation mode, destination. set.
those usually end up being. I think it's what, 8 intel to hack open a technician level door. It's a tricky one. Oh! No shot. No shot. Someone got tripwired. Oh, they got tripwired. Dude. I gotta cower. I need to cower because there's gunfire. Oh!
Never mind, I'm not paid enough for this.
Oh, no way, dude. All right. Okay. Seems good. Seems good, dude.
Probably simply doing your job for you. A vault terminal was deactivated.
Yeah, no kidding it was. I think it was that one. I wonder what could possibly make me think that was the room that things were happening in. In all of their unsubtle ways. I'm just gonna keep gathering intel, why not? They'll come in handy at some point. Good gravy. Oh, that almost messed me up. That staff member almost came through and messed that up for me. Give me that. I'm gonna hack that open. I'm gonna grab that intel to replenish. Alright, I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna spritz this plant. No problem at all. So we know that A has been taken out. Ooh. Oof. Oof. I'm fearing for my life right now. Watch me fear for my life. Cavalier is on the hunt. Yikes. Okay, I'm just gonna walk away from that. I am not messing with that. Not a chance. Alright, I'm full on intel. So I'm gonna just take a nice little stroll out here. Oh my gosh. Let's head toward D.
Destination set.
Why not? Let's go this way. I don't trust that guard. I don't trust that guard. They seem a little bit fishy to me. I'm just gonna walk right on through. I'm gonna hack into here without too much of a pause. Someone's already been in here. That's fine. I can just get my intel back.
Worth it.
Someone's already been in here though, so there's no point in me being here.
Your rivals were faster and have deactivated a vault terminal.
Have they now? Would it happen to be this one? Nah, I don't think I want to hack the door without the guard outfit already in my possession. Man, getting a guard outfit is really the sticking point here. Trying to figure out a good place to get one that's not super obvious and visible. Very difficult. Because there's a lot of open sight lines around pretty much every guard room.
It is called free labor. Not sure we like it. A vault terminal was deactivated.
Okay, I guess the vault's opening up, which means I still need a guard outfit. I need the guard disguise still.
Vault open.
Yeah, it's open, but I can't do anything about it. Because I don't have the clearance for it yet. Hi. I'm just gonna go back to this real quick. Ah, yeah, there's people running in. I see them. I see some running. Oh, there's a guard coming.
Now, where would security guards go?
I think that's about the cleanest I'm gonna get. Okay, I've got the technician key card, so that's good. I'm gonna open this up. Because I would like that. Full on ammo. I can take that. Ooh. Trying to figure out who might be scoping out the area besides me. Because I still don't have a blue security, which is unfortunate.
Am I doing this right?
That's unfortunate.
They still have
Ooh.
to get away.
Well, maybe I don't need to go in there then. This carrier is ambitious. Makes me worried it's the Cavalier. Well, I guess I'm just gonna leave. Because they're heading toward A, it looks like.
Updating coordinates. Destination set.
They're running. That was a lot of pings back to back. Slow down a bit. And I think they're making their way down. A little bit. Would not be surprised. Oh, yeah. They're probably, like, on their way there right now. Oh, yeah, they're running for A. Oh, they're running for A. Oh, they're booking it. Oh, they're doing a fake out. They're faking out. They might be going for B. Oh, they're going for B. They're going. Oh yeah, they're calling. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh.
Extraction vehicle has arrived. This is your last
Whoop.
chance.
Hope it didn't hurt too bad.
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna just take this, please. Am I gonna get it? We're there. Nice. I just had to play it real cool at the end there. Just let them fight each other for a second. I did not want to I did not want to shoot my shot too early. If I had shot during that, I'd bring more attention to me, and they'd probably focus me. And then be back on each other. I think that's my first proper extraction, too. All the other matches I've played have been everyone kills each other except for one other person, and then they try to come to the vault, which I'm hanging outside of, and then they find me and we end up fighting each other, and I just barely outgun them. So I think that's the first time I've actually won the intended way. Which I think is a pretty decent note to leave out on. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say I'll buy this. I'll definitely buy this. And hey, that's also the first match that I've gotten all of my field upgrades in a single match. So, there we go. Take a little breather after that, for sure. Those final moments are always such an increase in intensity. It just like 0 to 100 real quick. Cause it's like, oh yeah, it's fun. We're just kind of hanging out, blending in, mix and mingle, you know, having a fun time at the spy party. As soon as someone grabs that case, it's like, okay, nothing else matters except for just getting this case and getting out. And I know that's not how everybody plays this, because you saw people were running and gunning. Some people have a much more aggressive spy style to them. I'm definitely more of a let other people kind of duke it out and then find the right place to kind of insert myself into the situation when it's the most opportune. And I think it takes both types to really make the game work, you know? Because if you didn't have the aggressive people who were more willing to push objectives, then the game would kind of like grind to a halt if it weren't for, you know, the artificial timers in place to keep the game moving. And if it was all aggressive agents, if people just only ran in and did their usual Rambo stuff, then it may as well just be any other hero shooter, right? So it really takes a mix of both types of players and, you know, the whole spectrum in between to really flesh out the experience and make it feel like a proper spy party game. Or more Daniel Craig Bond. Yeah, I could see that. I can see that. You like to get yourself into a bit of a scrap every now and again. But, hey, you know, to each their own. If you're built for it, then why not lean into it? Everyone can find their own success their own ways. Because, yeah, that Cavalier at the end was so occupied with the other agent that was attacking them, they didn't even bother to question who it was in their vicinity that was blocking their extraction. And they also didn't question the guard not shooting at them. Because if I had shot at all, that would have broken my cover, so I had to kind of bluff a little bit just by moving around. So, yeah, I definitely prefer the slower, more methodical pace to it. I still haven't actually extracted the package myself from the vault. Like, I've never gotten the package out of the vault. I've only ever seen other people do it and then acted upon that. So I haven't been quite bold enough to go in and actually steal the package myself.
This is so exciting!
Is it? Not too bad of a layout there. Decent stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I enjoy it quite a bit. So I am looking forward to playing some more of this on my own time for sure, especially while the free weekend is happening. Seems like as good a time as any to just try it out. But yeah, if you have any matchmaking problems, maybe just try restarting the game. Seemed to work for me at least. I wasn't I was hopeful that it would work that way, but hopefully that's something that they kind of get ironed out over time. Because it was a little confusing. I wasn't exactly sure what to do about it, but thankfully restarting it worked. So we did get to play a few matches and get to actually show off how the game works in real time. And honestly, as much as it pains me to say it, this is probably the best the game is going to be. Because if there's one thing that I've started to experience more and more as I've kind of branched out into multiplayer games, and even to some extent with single player games, is that the age of discovery is probably the most exciting time for a game. When it's at its early points, it's just coming out, nobody knows all of the things, so there's still some mystery and questioning and testing of how things work. And there's still possibility for those moments of like, wow, this does this? I had no idea. But as a game exists for longer periods of time, more people are going to get more experience with it, find the most optimal ways to execute certain things to guarantee your chances of success, different things like that. The mystery starts to go away and the optimization starts to creep in. And then with a game like this, to give a more specific example, once you've played the game long enough, you'll start to be able to tell with more and more confidence who is and is not a player amongst the actions of the NPCs. Because you'll become more innately familiar with how the NPCs move on their own and how player movements differ from that. So the longer this game exists, the higher the skill gap is going to become between people who've played the game so much that they know how how the NPCs can and will move within a certain extent, versus people right now getting into the game and playing and having no idea how to tell who is a player or not, because the NPCs move sporadically enough and execute actions randomly enough that pretty much any NPC action could theoretically be a player. And some of them are way more red herrings than others, like the sprinting. Like if you jump into this game not knowing that sprinting is something that NPCs can do, that immediately feels like a player red flag. So that's something that will become only more challenging as time goes on and as people play the game more and more. Would that not mean that players will become more skilled at being hidden? True, but that also leaves the skill gap of people who don't know what to look for. It's kind of like both ways. The people who have played a lot know how the NPCs move, and thus know how to move like the NPCs in a more convincing way. So that the people who don't have the experience with the game, not only do they not know what to look for, the signs that the signs of player movement are going to be much more minuscule, because the people who know how to move like NPCs will make their mistakes. Will make a lot fewer mistakes and make smaller mistakes. And the new players also will be more obvious by comparison because they don't know how to move like the NPCs. So, because that's something that I've had a lot of difficulty with in games like Dead by Daylight. The game's just been out for so long and people have played it so much that even some of the more casual player base, they know what they're doing to a much greater extent than somebody like me who is still relatively fresh to the game in terms of actual hard experience. So being able to execute on things is being able to execute certain actions is something that people in Dead by Daylight have had plenty of time to practice and master and refine over time. And I have basically none of that time under my belt, so I'm at a major disadvantage. Which means that if I'm playing to win, I'm probably playing the game for the wrong reason at this point in its lifespan. And Call of Duty too, it's just the same kind of thing where there's enough similarities between the Call of Duty games that experience from one can pretty easily transfer to subsequent titles. So just the more you've kind of ride along with a certain franchise, depending on how much they carry over between their sequels, you might be able to just carry over all of your muscle memory, or at least a hefty chunk of it. Because yeah, I was trying to play something recently that's, you know, kind of Call of Duty-ish, just because I was like, you know, I kind of miss the gameplay loop a little bit of just go in with a gun and try to gun down the other gunners, just as some like kind of mindless fun, I guess. And boy, I felt like such an old man playing video games that day. Because I would go into a room, I would just be kind of like holding the room down for a little bit, and somebody would run in and just immediately, like, we're talking less than half a second, I'm dead. In the time it took me to register where they are in the room and kind of like aim toward them, they already have me lasered and dead. And it's like, I'm sure they didn't start that way. It's just that they've put in enough time in the game to let muscle memory take over the cognition side. They don't have to think about where they're aiming or what they're aiming at. They just go into a room, their subconscious brain detects an enemy, automatically aims them that way, and just executes on that. And I'm just like, I don't really want to put in the time to develop that muscle memory for this. That's just me. So that's something I've been a lot more aware of in multiplayer, since I haven't been too much of a multiplayer person for most of my gaming life. I've very much stuck to either co-op or single player. I've never really been much of a competitive multiplayer person. But something like this, where I can spend most of my time not being in direct conflict with other players, I feel pretty comfortable with this balance. Like, sure, it comes down to the final moments where it's me or them kind of thing. But it's not like I'm going out of my way to make other people's games harder. Because I'm just chilling doing my own thing in the background. And that's the way I like to play it. I like to kind of... You know what? I like being an NPC. It's kind of fun for me in a certain way. It's like emulating what already exists. It's kind of like a fun little challenge. Like, will people notice that I'm any different than the other NPCs? How well can I execute the charade? And so far, it seems like I do a decent job. I just have to make sure that I'm not getting completely blindsided. That's the problem, is when I let myself get blindsided and I'm not careful enough. Truly the downfall of any spy, right, is just when they let their guard down. Because being a spy is like 50% planning, 50%, oh no, the plan is different now, we have to improvise. But yeah, fun game though. I'm really liking this. I'm not sure how I'm gonna cut down the VOD of this per se, because I don't know if, well, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But for the time being, I'll be playing more of this, especially at least during the free weekend. Probably will end up getting the game myself, because it is gonna be on sale until the May 4th, I believe, is when the sale ends for this game. And then free weekend is until May 1st, in case anyone is interested in actually checking it out. By the way, hashtag not sponsored. Just gotta, just to throw that out there. I just genuinely thought this game was interesting and could suit my interests, and yeah, I'd say it pretty well does. I'd say this game is up my alley. Definitely an interesting one. And of course, I love Squire as a character. He's definitely one of my favorites. Like, character-wise, easily my favorite. I think he just suits me really well. He's got that kind of, he's got that Pathfinder energy to him in a certain way, where he's got that eagerness. He's got that eagerness, and he's, you know, still a somewhat innocent soul. So, I don't know. I like him as a character. Give me some money. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. This game has trios. This game has trios. You and Bless. Bless already said she was like, I'm not great at the stealth thing. Can you run and gun in this game? And you kind of can. You saw some of that in that last match, where that guard room became a killing zone. There are some characters that are definitely better suited for an aggressive playstyle, where your main thing is going after and eliminating the other players, rather than necessarily blending in all the time and staying undetected. So, with Bless as the running gunner, and me as the immersed NPC, I wonder. But yeah, I will be back to, I'm back to streaming now. I think I fixed the audio stuff. So all of the audio sources are normal again, hopefully. For some reason, OBS had decided, hey, you know all those audio devices you set up? Gone. Just completely unselected in the menu. I don't know why that happened, but I assume it happened sometime in my absence from my streaming hiatus. So I don't know. I don't know what caused it to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. So, yeah, I suppose it's possible that maybe a Windows update shifted them around or something, because I know Windows updates tend to break that. But yeah, absolutely. And Jay, hit me up on the transition sounds, what we want to do with that, because I'm eager to start looking at that too whenever you got a chance. So I'm ready. I gotta get back into my audio chops too, because I haven't made music in a while. I haven't worked with audio in a hot minute. So I want to get back on that too. So anyway, I think that's where we'll call it. Having a successful extraction, I think, is a pretty good note to end on. So I'll be playing more of this and trying to get better at blending in and just not getting caught off guard quite as much where I can help it, you know. And then I might stream this next week. I might not. I'm not 100% sure what my next long-term game is going to be. I'm still kind of mulling that over right now. But I have to also consider that Tears of the Kingdom is coming out. So whatever I choose game-wise is going to have to coexist with Tears of the Kingdom being my off-stream game time, because there's no way I'm waiting a week in between play sessions of Tears of the Kingdom. I can't do that to myself. So I'll figure out what's going on. At the very least, we'll have this as an option for sure. So this is always a nice little dose of jump in, jump out kind of fun. Toss in like, what is it, like a 20-minute match? 20 to 30 minutes at most. That's if you get to see the whole match the whole way through and don't get eliminated early or something. But yeah, I think this will be a good option to have on the table, if nothing else. But yeah, so I am officially back to streaming at this point. Until the foreseeable future, we are back to our usual Saturdays at noon. But if that ever happens to change again for any reason, I do put all my stream updates on Twitter. I was a little late on mine today just because I was trying to fix all the audio issues at the beginning of the stream, so I was a little late with it today, but all my stream updates go on Twitter, and that also includes when I post the VOD archives on YouTube, which can be found over here. Stream archives are up there. I also have some music stuff in there, a couple of memes that I made, some little miscellany in there, but mostly stream archives. So if you ever miss anything with one of the streams, I usually take these and lightly edit them and then pop them up on the YouTube. And if you're seeing this on the YouTube archives, hello and thank you for watching. I appreciate you all for all the support that you give for just even watching the archives, because I know that long form archival stuff isn't usually, it's usually for a specific type of audience, especially when it's pretty lightly edited, if at all. But I appreciate you all, regardless of however long you watch or all that sort of stuff. Just even giving this stuff a chance that means a lot to me. So I want to thank you all for that. And thank you all in the Twitch realm for stopping in and hanging out, because honestly, the reason that I've wanted to start with Twitch first and have YouTube be the archives kind of place is I love the live aspect of things. I like being able to interact with people in a somewhat real-time setting. I feel like going through the YouTube process of like uploading a video and only being able to respond to comments, it feels a little more disconnected to me. I know that some people prefer communicating that way and get more enjoyment out of it and feel pressured when it comes to like a live stream situation where they have to think of things to say on the spot and that sort of deal. But I don't know. For someone who's not usually a social butterfly by any means, I usually keep my friend circles pretty specific for the most part. Kind of surprising I would do a live stream setting, at least to me it seems surprising, but I don't know. But regardless of whatever format you're hanging out in, I appreciate you all for being here and being a part of it, because whether it be Twitch or YouTube or any other platform, I am just only me. So me alone is only one person, but us collectively together, we create a community. So I always I want to make sure that I take the time to recognize that and never take that for granted. So, thank you all for being here and hanging out. And it's good to be back. I did miss the streaming. Now that I have some time to do it again, I'm looking forward to getting back in and trying to figure out what we want to do long term again. Now that I've got some flexibility in that department. But until the next stream, take care, everyone.